Here are the parts you'll receive with your Textures Tube Adapter Kit. This kit fits both of the Makins Ultimate Clay Extruders, the green and the stainless steel version. First thing I want to do is remove the end cap and grease the inside of the tube. I'm going to use Claymate for this. I'm just going to put a little bit at the very end, and then I'm going to unscrew the cylinder. I want to coat the inside as well. It's not completely necessary to do this. I just like to because I want to make sure that the clay doesn't stick, so I like to grease it up a little bit. The adapter kit makes both 3 and 5 millimeter outside diameter tubes, and those are really good size for hinges and tube bales. I'm going to go ahead and use the Claymate that I have left over in my hands to coat the inlet disc and the profile disc. And the profile disc is the one with the larger hole, and I'm just going to drop that down into the end of the end cap. And now I need to put the spacer in here. This is a specially sized spacer that comes with the kit, and this fits in nice and tight, so you want to make sure that you press that down all the way. Take a minute and make sure that it's completely pressed up against the profile disc. And now I want to put the inlet disc in. I'm just going to set this in place and just kind of shimmy it in there. And then I'll use something here. I just happen to have a butter knife handy, so I'll use that to screw this in so that it's sitting up against the spacer, nice and snug. And I want to make sure that this is sitting in there straight. I'm going to extrude an 18-gram package of PMC Plus. Fresh clay works best with this tool. Any kind of extruding, regardless of if you're doing a tube or anything else, you really want to use fresh clay. So I'm going to form this into a little log, put it into the cylinder here, and screw on the end cap with the assembly. The end cap, because there's more parts than normal, is only going to screw on about a half a turn. But just to be sure that you've gotten everything in straight, look at the end of it and make sure everything is lined up. It should be completely centered. And now I'm ready to extrude. So I'll just turn the crank until you can feel when the clay starts to come out. And you want to hold this pretty close to your work surface and let it extrude out onto the work surface itself. And don't worry about if it likes to come out sort of curled, and that's okay. Just let it go where it wants to go. We're going to straighten this out in a minute. Just keep turning and nice and smooth until all the clay is extruded. You'll feel it when it gets to the end. And then just take a little tissue blade and cut the end of this off. Now I've got my extruded tube, and I want to straighten this. This one I'd like to have straight. So what I'm going to do is take my acrylic work surface and just give it a couple of rolls that'll help to straighten that out. Just very, very gently. You don't want to press on it. And then I can just lay the work surface in front of it, make sure that it's lined up, and now I've got a nice straight tube. To make a curved tube is really easy. All you need is something to form it around. Here I'm just going to nudge the clay around this Claymate jar, and this will give me a beautifully formed curved tube. Now we're going to go ahead and clean up the machine. I'm going to start with the cylinder. I'm going to make it so the plunger is all the way out to the end. And I'm using a clay shaper here just to kind of get a hold of the clay and pull it off of the end. Set that aside. And now I want to get this little bit of clay that's left here at the end of the extruder. Get that off. And I want to unscrew the inlet disc a few turns. This is beveled, so it gets looser as you turn it more. And then I want to turn it over on my work surface and press it until it pops. And that'll loosen it up, so now all I have to do is I use the end of the extruder to press it out the rest of the way. And now I can remove these parts and clean them up. The spacer disc itself stays pretty clean, and because I have Claymate on this and on my fingers, I can take this off just with my hands and recover all of this clay. None of the clay has to be wasted at all. I can use it just as lump clay, or I can put it in my paste jar. You'll find a little bit of clay that's left between the threads on the end cap. And what I like to do with this is just wait until it's completely dried, and there's no problem with allowing it to dry on this. And then just to use something pointy here, I'm just using a titanium solder pick to get in between the threads and just push the little clay particles out. It is important to do this. You need to clean all of these dried pieces of clay out of here, otherwise it will prevent you from being able to put the end cap back onto the extruder when you go to use it the next time. So it just takes a minute or two to do this, and you can recover this clay, put it in your paste jar.